Well, here we are, WellRED podcast. Thank you all for continuing to subscribe and download and all that good stuff. If you hadn't checked out me and Trey's new podcast, Puttin On Airs, please do that. Please do it too, but please do that. Also, as always, Into the Biscuit with Georgia Dollars and DJ Lewis. We got some cool stuff going on. We're not touring right now, so I'm not going to shield the whole WellREDcomedy.com for tickets, but if you would like to go there and sign up for the newsletter, you will know as soon as we start touring again. The hiatus should not be that long. Okay, Drew. So,
yeah, a few things. First of all, homie, tilt your mic just a little because you faded in and out for a second. I think you're a little too on the side of it.
Okay.
I'll be announcing some tour dates soon. You can go to drewmorgancomedy.com for that. I'm going to be touring with our good buddy DJ Lewis all summer. We're calling it the Joy Revival Tour. And buddy, we're going to need to revive some joy. What a dark day in American history. I don't want to be too hyperbolic. Did I say that word right?
Yeah, you did.
But the signal that was sent from this leaked future court opinion is, in my professional lawyer, Boston College opinion, not good.
Yeah,
not good.
Yeah, I was going to open by saying longtime listeners of the WellRED podcast are pretty hip to the fact that, not saying we don't get political every now and then, but we've kind of shifted away from that and really just been bullshitting and yada, yada, yada. But this seems to be too large of an elephant not to get into. And I have a question for you that will, I'm sure, spur the conversation along, just because I'm, dumb on a lot of things. I read one thing and then I read the other thing and I'm like, well, God damn it. That now I don't know whether to fucking, wind my ass or scratch my watch. Could the president right now, because I hear executive orders being thrown around all the time, but I'm like, well, I don't think that literally means they can do anything. Could he right now stop this from happening? Like, is it within his power?
I don't think so. It's tough. Executive orders were expanded during the Bush administration
because of 9/11.
Yeah, as broad as they have been. Barack Obama took advantage of that. Not in doing anything I was super for, but
yeah, that was with the banks and shit, right?
A lot of it, yeah.
And drones.
Yeah, it hasn't. That's like it's an argument you hear little c conservative legal minds make. I say little c meaning like people who are just like philosophically like, don't make big changes. They've argued forever that when you do a thing like that, you can't roll it back, and that's true. So the expansion of the executive branch's powers has been going on now for a solid 2.5 decades. I still don't know if he did, the Supreme Court could potentially overturn it.
Right.
They would have to call it. They would have to. Man, that'd be tricky. That'd be a wild move, because even if the Supreme Court was like, okay, Joe Biden makes this executive order making abortion illegal, and he can't do that. And here's why. They'd have to be real careful with their reasoning not to roll back some shit that they like. Right. These conservative justices like some of the shit George Bush and Trump did. So I don't know. That'd be interesting. But Joe Biden's not that president. He doesn't have any guts. He's never had guts as a politician. I agree with him. They ran him as like a alternative to Trump. They didn't want him, right? So there's no way he's going to do that. What I'm about to say isn't going to happen, but what I think would be more likely is the Democrats get rid of the filibuster, which they'd have to do the other thing I'm going to say, and then they put it in the law.
Right.
And they're afraid to get rid of the filibuster. Again, little c conservatism, because they're like, if we get rid of the filibuster, then when we lose the majority, we won't have the filibuster. But look, I hate to be very cynical about it, and I know this bothers a lot of our listeners, but the Democratic Party seemingly to me is functionally inept.
Yeah.
We haven't done anything that we've ran on that I can think of.
Right. No, I mean, you said Joe Biden doesn't have the guts, and I'm definitely not going to disagree with you on that. But my whole, in me sitting back and thinking about it, and So I want to say like, oh, I don't consider myself a Democrat or Republican, but every time I actually hear somebody say that, the way I always interpret it is like, you're a Republican, you just want people to like you, you know what I mean? Or like you just want to sound edgy or cool. But like to me, what it seems like, and this goes back to what you're saying about Joe Biden not having any guts, it seems like the Democratic Party's main downfall to me is that they operate under this false premise that somehow they could get everyone to like them. Like you know what I'm saying? Like when does it kind of make sense? Because like when Trump, I mean, I'm not saying that Trump doesn't have a deep seated pining for people to like him and for approval, but like they just be saying shit, and the Democrats always tiptoe around all this stuff because they're like, in their mind, they're like, no, I could be the candidate that Republicans could like too. And to me, it's like when you try to please everybody, in my opinion, you just don't ever please nobody. Like everybody hates that motherfucker. They're like, dude, pick a fucking lane. You know what I mean?
I think that's a fair assessment in terms of the way they run their campaigns, but I'm talking about actual functionality. You know, it's difficult to point to anything since Obamacare major that they've accomplished, and most people hate Obamacare.
Yeah, right.
So maybe I'm too far left. Maybe there's other things they did that I don't give a fuck about, but other people do. But the only reason, I don't want to get us in the weeds. The only reason I bring it up is just to say that, like, it's hard for me to imagine that a party that, hasn't done anything, and that they can't get Kristen Sinema and fucking the guy from West Virginia on board. I don't see a way around this. I think that abortion will be outlawed in numerous states. We will go back to people traveling for them. Poor people will do them for very cheap in very, very dark, horrific circumstances. Other people will just be trapped and have kids that they do not want. I don't want to say more gravely. In the macro, I think Obergefell's next, which is the case that made gay marriage a right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying, I think Loving is the one where sodomy was out. The law against sodomy was made unconstitutional. They're saying that'll be next. I think they'll skip that one. Frankly, I think they all like getting butt fucked. Not that that's ever stopped them. They also love abortions. Nobody loves abortions more than rich Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted this earlier, and it's true. Like, I know a lot of, where I'm from. I'm from Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. I know so many people that have either gotten an abortion or paid for an abortion. And aside from me, because I've done that, but aside from me, every single one of them has voted Republican their whole life, continues to vote Republican. And it's like they don't actually hate the act of abortion. It's just that the platform of being anti-abortion also falls in line with all the other policies that they feel so strongly about, and therefore it's just checked down the box, in my opinion.
I think a lot of them hate abortion until they need it.
Right.
And
like a lot of people are against gay marriage until their son is gay, and all of a sudden they're very accepting.
I've had abortions. I've paid for abortions. I paid for other people's abortions. I don't mean women. I mean other men's abortions.
Yeah, a buddy. Me too.
Yeah. So, like, I am the George Soros of abortions, I guess, that your papa warned you about. I used to be a lot less, I think most of my adult life, I think I've been pro-life, but I definitely used to be a lot less, I don't know, gung-ho about it, because it can feel icky. There's a lot of shame around it. I get all that, but here's the thing. And a lot of honest conservatives will agree with this. Some of them do, quietly, because they know that they can't make any friends or get anywhere in their world by admitting this. But I've had them say it to me. It should be up to the doctor and the mother, because it's nobody's business. The case itself, as a legal framework, was built around the right to privacy. The word privacy is not really mentioned in the Constitution. That right was something that the courts, I don't want to say interpreted or invented. They didn't really invent it. It was something that they used as a mechanism to guarantee the other rights. So in cases over time where they're guaranteeing rights inside the Constitution, whether it be free speech, separation of church and state, whatever it is, a lot of the property rights. I mean, if you think about that, that's probably the main one, like search and seizure.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, at its core, this is a private. That's what we're saying here. The word privacy is not mentioned, but that's what we're talking about. You've got a right to privacy. And once that language was used, that language became the language that was the framework around the opinion that is Roe v. Wade. Scaling that back is going to affect so many things. And somebody tweeted this has come up a few times already. Our generation, the millennials, were the first generation in America to have less wealth than our parents. Gen Z and the generation below them are going to be the first generations to have less rights. Mm-hmm. And that's wild. We are quite literally going backwards. And you see other people being like, well, don't freak out yet. This is just a leak. It's hard for me
What's not to freak out about?
It's so hard for me to imagine that this will change, that those justices will change their minds based upon any of this. As a matter of fact, I believe wholeheartedly that a conservative leaked this.
Yeah.
The advantages are too great to their side.
Well, my only conspiracy thought on the other side would be that a Democrat leaked it because it's going to get people out to vote.
The only people who could have possibly leaked this, though, work directly, either a clerk or an assistant to a clerk for the justices. Every one of those people, to a person, is Ivy League or Ivy League adjacent, brilliant, super career-minded, very focused on the law. We're talking a very finite type and group of people. They're too smart, all of them, right and left, not to know what the fallout would be.
Right. They're going to get fired.
It depends on who did it.
Right.
But not only that, and yes, liberals are way too career-minded to ever go to bat for women. So right there, I'm thinking it ain't fucking liberal. But also, it's in terms of the voting thing. These aren't politicians. That's not how they think. The only argument that a liberal did it was like as a warning, like we've got to do something. But these people are smart enough to know that won't work. That every abortion activist in America saw this coming and was prepared for this. Mm-hmm. Everybody who needed to get ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just do my...
No, you're fine. But I said that because I said what I said about a Democrat leaking it, because all I'm fucking seeing today from everybody, top liberals, whatever, is just like, oh, it's vote, 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 vote. It's more important now than ever to vote. And that's all I've ever heard my entire adult goddamn life.
Well, it didn't work.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, I hate to be this guy, but like it's starting to get even more frustrating because it's like, motherfucker, we voted. Like, God damn it, Georgia went blue. Like, we voted as hard as a human being could vote. I pressed that button so goddamn hard. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then we vote, we've got the president, and then it's like, okay, well, this is going to happen. And they go, well, the only answer is to vote. And so with me, it's like, yeah, they love it when this shit happens because it gets them a blue wave that is not going to be this fucking heroic tsunami that they always act like it's going to be. It's just going to be another, so many years of goddamn nothing and just being like, it's just, you got to vote.
And I get that, but I don't think that the type of person who works for the Supreme Court thinks that way in terms of politics. I think they think bigger. So to me, the motivation for someone who's on the left to share it would be to spur political action. And I think, and I don't mean voting, I mean like senators and all that. And maybe it was a desperation move. Maybe it was someone who was just like, well, this probably won't work, but it's the only move I got. I think it's way more likely that a right-wing person leaked it for a variety of reasons. One, it sends a shot through the zeitgeist to governors and senators in right-wing states. The abortion laws are coming this week.
Right.
Not when this is passed. There's no reason for them to wait, because you do it now. If it gets challenged, by the time it gets up to the Supreme Court, then the case is already decided. So number one, it gets a head start. Number two, now there's going to be political pressure from the right wing, whatever people, to fall in line with this. Like to not back down. You may have someone like, what's the Supreme Court justice? That's Roberts. You may have someone like Roberts who, compared to the rest of them, is a little bit more moderate. Now he's got pressure. Like, he could have privately said, I'm not voting for this unless you change a few things. And he probably could have convinced Kavanaugh, who's more of a golf club Republican than a religious guy, right? And then Kavanaugh could have said, I'm not going to vote for it unless you do a few of these things. I think a right-wing person leaked this because they were like, now that we leak it, this is what we've got to deliver or else.
Right.
And I don't know what that means, because usually the Supreme Court's supposed to be above that. They're clearly not. I don't feel good. Like, all my thoughts are dark. Not just like, oh, abortion's banned and that's dark. That is there. That is very dark. I'm not downplaying that. It's worse than that. We are receding culturally, politically. We're going the wrong direction in a major way. We are institutionally corrupt. All these people, except for maybe Amy Coney Barrett, said under oath that Roe was settled law. And they have all, at least in a preliminary world, voted for that to not be true.
Yeah, and I don't understand why it's only the first, 2 through 1 through 10 of the amendments to the Constitution that everybody's like, no, that is set in stone. It's a law. And if that's our law, we can't change the law. But then when it's something like this, which is a law, all of a sudden it's, but I don't like that law. So for the record, that's all amendments fucking ours. Well, wait, hold on now. We gotta do this. It just further makes me not understand why, just because a bunch of slave owners in the 1700s wrote a piece of paper, that it's like, okay, well, that's it. That's a magical piece of paper. And so we got to go by that. But every other goddamn thing, it's like, hold on now, there's nuances. Like, I just don't. I guess I do get it. It's, if you like the thing, then it's concrete.
Yeah, we could get into a whole thing about the philosophy of originalists, and I don't remember all the other them because con law was so long ago. There is a lot of nuance to how our government interacts with one another. That's a big reason we haven't seen a leak like this. There's a history professor from my college who I follow on Twitter who went back to 1857 or 67, whatever he went back to. He said, this is the last time I can remember anything remotely like this. Buchanan gave a speech where it was clear he knew something was going on. In other words, in his speech, he alluded to a Supreme Court case that was about to go down as it related to states' rights. So that's a history professor going all the way back, what is that, 150-ish years more, before we find anything like this leak. So again, I don't want to put too fine a point on the leak aspect of it. Like, what's happening is abortion is about to be banned in most of the country, 25 or 26 states probably. And that's the worst part. But the part that's like a long-term, like, wait, what's next fear of mine is like the way it's all happened is also not precedented. It's changing. The culture's changing. This is politics out in the open inside the Supreme Court. It's gross.
Yeah, and it's just so wild too of just how it's like there's a balance in this country of like things must be equally shitty as they are equally good. And so it's like we're getting so close to marijuana being legalized on the federal level. Like, we have to be, because there's like fucking 17 states now where you can get it. Every single one of these states, senators and stuff.
Don't count on it.
Now, well, all right. Now, but you know what I'm saying? At least it looked like we're headed in that direction.
So you got 17 states that have legal marijuana?
I just pulled that number out of my ass. That could be true.
You got 25 where abortion rights are pretty strong.
Right.
And they just did this.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, we are such a goddamn, at least as of late, it seems like one step forward, 3 steps backwards, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm saying that I think we're going backwards now pretty strongly. That might be that thing where when whatever you're living through, you sort of frame it as the worst version of this.
Yeah, right.
And obviously we've talked on the podcast before, not just about politics, but in general, the greatest time to be alive is now for the most part. You know what I mean? You can make some arguments if you're a white man, like the 70s were better or whatever. But I genuinely feel it's going the other way. Like in this country, at least, like the greatest time to be alive might have been the 80s, 90s, early 2000s.
I mean, if you're talking about just from like a, accruing, having a strong middle class and all that shit, then but then I could see where, this is again where it's just always one thing or the other. I could see where some gay people would go, yes, that's true. The middle class was stronger in the 80s and 90s, but I couldn't marry Chuck if I wanted to. So that's better now. And
but when was Oberfell, like 06?
I have no fucking idea.
09? I mean, I don't either, and I apologize for not being good with timelines. But my point is, like, that was it's not that was that long ago. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm just saying is we're going backwards, and that's next. Like, I genuinely believe that that's next. It makes the most sense logically in terms of the legal arguments and the way they were structured. This thread is very, very powerful. If rights in America for people who aren't straight and white are a sweater, they just pulled on a very key thread.
Right. But I mean, I guess we have always been one step forward, 2 steps back. Cause I mean, you got to figure, like, slavery is outlawed, and then yada, yada, yada. Okay. Jim Crow laws. And then you've got the civil rights movement, and then the government's like, okay, let's sprinkle crack into the housing projects. And then I don't know, man. I just don't really, I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. And again, it just gets more frustrating because I'm like, man, we got a lot of motherfuckers out there that we voted for that I thought were going to be doing some stuff, and they're just
that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, once the Civil Rights Act was passed, people who were racist and against that went to work to undermine it in other ways. They weren't ever able to overturn it. Right. And that's where we're at with this. And I'm not the only person saying this. I'm not like a genius or anything. It seems obvious to me that the right to gay marriage is next. It's going to be very easy. If this becomes law, it's going to be very easy for a state to argue, if there's no constitutional right to abortion, so we're allowed to decide because of state rights, it's pretty easy to take a step from there legally in terms of just a logical argument. Well, then we should have the right to outlaw gay marriage. It's happening.
No,
it's already happening. This is a fun episode.
Yeah, I know, but like, I guess in their minds, it's like, because I'm just trying to think of this as cynical as possible with like, okay, well, we can't do this because we'll lose votes over here and we'll lose votes. It's like that, but they don't really they have to give a fuck. Now that they don't give a fuck about the gay vote, that's for sure.
The GOP's as fractured as the Democratic Party in terms of the different interests and minds. They're just a lot better at coming together for overall goals.
Yes,
so I will totally grant you that the country club Republicans might give you some pushback inside that party, but that's not going to matter in the state of Mississippi. That's my point. The state of Tennessee, I'm not just trying to shit on Mississippi, Texas, in the wrong election cycle will outlaw gay marriage, and then the Supreme Court will have no legal framework with which to say, no, you can't do that. They've just given it away.
So, firstly, we ought not let these motherfuckers serve lifetime terms.
Am talking about the Supreme Court, or?
Yeah, the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the advantages of both. Like, if you make it purely political, then we might get a lot more political type people in it. But we also kind of already jumped that shark. We've got case after case of federal judges being appointed by Trump who never tried a case.
Right.
worked as administrators, but just their husband was somebody powerful. This country's a grift.
Well,
We're Russia.
when
Russia's not undermining us. We are becoming them.
right, yeah, exactly. We just make all the movies here, and it looks neater. When you're in that world, like a Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett and yada yada yada, what is it about you? Because I know with when someone's running for senator, it's like, oh, they were a local congressman and they did this and they get moved up, and it's like, well, now they're going to take this next step. What is it about a Brett Kavanaugh that makes them go, okay, this is the fucking guy? Like, what are the steps to that?
The Federalist Society endorsing you is a huge thing. The Federalist Society, generally speaking, would only endorse someone who either as a judge or as a legal mind argued cases in a way that they liked. You're going to have to go to law school and probably teach. Amy Barrett taught at Notre Dame Law. I don't remember where Kavanaugh taught. He did for a little while, and then he practiced. But mainly, at least in the past, you'd have to be an accomplished legal scholar who is endorsed by the Federalist Society and a few other conservative societies. And this gets into like Illuminati conspiracy theories and shit like that, where it's not quite as overt as people make it out to be, where like these secret societies are picking the next Supreme Court. It's more of like how the world works, of a very powerful person has the ear of very powerful people, and you rise through the ranks by impressing those people. We're still hopefully a few years away from someone. But here's the thing. Like that federal judge I was alluding to, I can't remember her name. She'd never tried a case. He just got it appointed to a federal judgeship. She has no experience. She's not going to be nominated for the Supreme Court. She might in 10 years. By then, she will have tried thousands of cases as a federal judge. So, it's the game rich people are able to play a lot, where you get that low-level experience because of who your dad or husband or whatever is, and then you do have a resume after that.
Right. Yeah, what was that? That secret society, the Bonesman or the Bone. You know what I'm talking about?
That thing that Pacey movie, that Joshua Jackson movie.
I didn't never see that, but
Skull
it's like
and Bones.
Skull and Bones. That's what it was, and like
it's at Yale, I think, maybe Harvard.
Yeah, and like both. I think it's Yale because Bush was in it and he went to Yale, so it's like Bush, him, John Kerry, and they sent back like all the lineage of all these motherfuckers in the Skull and Bones motherfuckers, like are just the people in power, and they're just like constantly trading it back and forth, and like at the end of the day, like a dude, like the way I was hearing it was like, yeah, even though John Kerry is a staunch, liberal or whatever, it would have. Him being a Skull and Bones member, it would have behooved him to vote for and support George Bush, because at the end of the day, they're like, look, man, you're a Bonesman, and that's what matters more than policy. That's what matters more than fucking anything. And like, so many of these
I think that's, I don't buy those conspiracy theories. I think they're incomplete.
Yeah, sure.
I think that there's no conspiracy. I think it's out in the open. I don't think the issue is that we have each other's back because we were Bonesmen. No, they're rich.
Right.
And I mean that on a level that is borderline unfathomable. Capitalism is the conspiracy, in the sense that people's ability to extract wealth and hoard it for themselves also allows them to maintain and keep power. And once you enter a certain level of wealth and power, you do have the same interests as other people with wealth and power. It's not because you went to college together and you were both in Bones. It's because you both own the same types of stock, own the same types of land, and want the world to go a certain type of way. A level underneath those people are people who are either vying to get that power and will do anything they can to get it. So they're playing a political game because they want money and power, or people who have very hardcore, genuine beliefs. And so they're vying to get power and do whatever they can so they can get those beliefs through. I think what you've got going on in the Republican Party right now is a very fucked up mix of people who genuinely have dark, dark views about the world, fascism, controlling women's bodies. They literally want a religious theocracy.
Right.
And they've attached themselves to people who just, want a lot of money and are a little bit racist and a little bit Christian. and one washes the other's back. It's not a bones society thing. It's out in the open.
Yeah,
They literally do each other's favors.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, those secret society conspiracy theories and stuff, like in the age of like social media, and now that like privacy is not really a thing, they kind of don't hold as much water anymore. Because like anytime you hear somebody go like, "Oh yeah, there's a secret group of people who are controlling the world," it's like, no, there's like 10 families, and we all know them, and they're all actively trying to buy Twitter. Like,
Yeah,
those are the fucking people. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's like-
Bezos owns the Washington Post. Ariana Huffington's a goddamn billionaire. Like, no, it's these people.
Well, and it's also like, did you know the secret thing that John Kerry had in common with the Bushes? It's that they were in the bones together.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's like, is it that, or is it that all their families had so much money after the Second World War that they were able to buy political seats, and what they actually have in common is class.
Right, and they married
on a
into
level
ketchup
that
money.
People don't understand. Right, like when you got ketchup money, you're not the richest guy in your town.
Right.
Like you have interests, it's like you do want to rewrite banking laws.
Right, and if the people that are helping you rewrite those banking laws happen to have some policies that you disagree with, at the end of the day, the banking law is the most important thing to you, which is where you have, hypothetically, I'm not. The rumor is that Lindsey Graham is gay. Right? That's the rumor. That's not me saying it. And a lot of people are like, "Well, how could
I'll say it. I've talked to people who fucked him.
Okay, well, he's gay, and people are like, "Well, how could a homosexual vote the way he does and represent himself the way he does?" And one thing that I learned, and it's been recent in my life, is that there's bad gay people. You know what I mean? Like he's a piece of shit who just happens to be gay, and at the end of the day, he's going to be fine, and he can fuck whoever he wants. But like at the end of the day, he's got more important things on his mind. It took me a long time, because I think like especially as a liberal person, and having our accent, you tend to overcorrect. So it's like if you meet somebody that's gay, you're like, what a wonderful person. They're gay, or hey, he's a black guy. We're for black people. Or she's a woman. We're for women. It's like, no, there's shitty gay black and women all around, and a lot of them are in fucking power, and they don't give a fuck about the people below them that are the same as them.
There's like 2 shitty gay black women.
Yeah.
There are only 2.
Who are they? Is Candace Parker gay or Candace Owens? Which one? One of them. They're 2 totally different people.
They're very different people. Neither of them are gay. In
Candace
spite of
Owens
being a professional basketball player.
Yeah. Candace Owens the worst, right?
Yeah, I don't think she's gay though.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can just be a shitty person. But yeah, at the end of the day,
one was a DA in Knox County.
Oh, word.
Her last name was Fitzsimmons. She had a license plate that says Fitz. I think it was Fitzsimmons. She's one of the like 6 or 7 worst people I've ever known in my life.
Like, you met her? Yeah, obviously.
I worked against her.
Yeah.
She's not the DA. She's an assistant DA in the, I think it was gang and drug crime unit. I don't remember, but she's horrific.
I'm certain that this would be a thing Republican lawmakers love to do, is like, if you're going to have someone in the gang and such division, they're like, well, let's get a black person that shares our values. Because
it probably helps with trial for sure. A lot of people don't want to talk about this. I mean, it goes back to what you were just saying about monoliths and assuming people are monoliths. But like when it comes to crime, a lot of black folk, not necessarily a majority, but more than people assume, especially white people, are very conservative about laws. Like if you grow up around gang violence, you might, turns out, be for tougher gang laws. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yes, they do that on purpose, because if you're going to go to trial in a gang case and the person accusing the person is also black, it's a better look.
Trae, welcome Trae Crowder to the show, everybody. Trae, I have to assume that you probably know what we've been discussing for the past 34 minutes.
Wimmerns.
Yeah.
And subjugating them, throwing the yoke back on them.
Yep.
Putting them back in their bonnets.
Are you in an Etsy closet?
Yeah, pretty much. It's Katie's, yeah. Corey just left yesterday, and I still ain't fixed up my main studio. I'm a fucking mess over here. My main studio's through that curtain, and I'm in a temporary space, and yeah, so it's very, but yeah, it's very like feminine, right? Very appropriate for the subject matter at hand, I guess. Sorry, I'm late. I've been out there, trying to use my words to save the world. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I've been
Hey,
trying.
if anyone can do it,
I
Trae,
know,
it's you.
I know. I believe the internet agrees, surely, but no,
I think we have some evidence that they do.
I couldn't. It just weren't. It weren't uploading, and then I got it uploaded finally, and then I got on here and my camera just wasn't working, and I still don't know why. So I had to restart everything. So nothing's hitting for me today. But at least I'm still a man. I ain't got to worry about getting pregnant. And being,
Yeah, it does help.
Term. Yeah. So anyway,
technology's the patriarchy. It's trying to hold you back.
Mm-hmm. So what y'all land on? Did y'all solve it?
It seems nuanced.
I don't think. I mean, it's nuanced in terms of how we got here and where we go from here, but I don't think the overall. It's not good. That's my professional opinion, Trae. This is bad.
Yeah, what do you think? Since you a lawyer, have you already talked about the the leak part or any of that stuff? Because apparently this has never happened before. Okay, y'all talked about that.
Yeah, I think I'll give you the quick rundown. I think a conservative leaked it. I can tell you why in a moment. But there's a lot of it makes more sense in my mind than anything else. I think that gay marriage is next. And I think from a legal standpoint, the legal framework by which we create gay marriage as a right is a lot more connected to this legal framework than people realize. I think that if they want to, they could get rid of the sodomy law thing where there was an anti-sodomy law and they got rid of it. They said, no, your right to privacy, you can't do that. They could get rid of that the day after this. I mean,
sodomy
don't
just mean fucking in the butt, right? It's like
as far as I know, it does.
Oh, no, really?
I think you got it backwards. I think it does mean fucking in the butt for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just any butt. It's only a same butt. You know what I mean?
You can't.
I thought that there were some idiots that they thought sodomy was like anything but missionary position with your wife.
I think it's anal and oral. Is that what you guys mean? I've heard that.
I'm talking about. Original. Is it the butt that's the problem, or is it the balls underneath the butt that's the problem?
I mean, it depends. The definition of sodomy is
fucking
sex
in the butt
or the mouth. But in terms of the laws that we are discussing, as far as I know, Loving was the case, which is what a great name for a case like this. Loving was, I think, one of the gentleman's last name. It was applied to gay men, but the way the law was written, it just meant that you can't have anal sex, period.
Yeah, sodomy, sexual intercourse involving anal or oral copulation, also known as buggery over in England.
The definition of sodomy is all but irrelevant because what matters in the case is a statute was on the books that said it is illegal to do a specific thing. That was challenged when someone got arrested for it who was gay, and the Supreme Court said a person's right to privacy makes this law unconstitutional. Well, the right to privacy is about to all but evaporate because what I was explaining to Corey earlier, Trae, is the right to privacy is not in the Constitution. It is something that came out as a legal framework as people, as judges tried to back up or what's the word I'm looking for? Set precedent as it relates to other rights, specifically the Fourth and Sixth Amendments mostly.
Yeah, I don't know why. So you said you thought it was a conservative that like this. My camera. But why would they do that? I felt I'm law dumb and whatever else, but I immediately jumped to assuming that somebody leaked it to try to
get everybody out to vote,
sway public opinion or whatever. Yeah.
The reason I don't think that is twofold. The only people who could have leaked this at all had to be working, and I did say this to Corey, so I'm going to go fast. The only people who could have leaked this at all had to work really closely there at the court. We're talking a clerk or a clerk's assistant. We are talking about people who fancy themselves, every one of them to a person, future Supreme Court justices, federal judges, or very, very high-end professors like at Yale or Harvard Law at the worst. Like that's their backup plan. Mm-hmm. To risk all of that, number one, for something that they are, number two, smart enough to realize is all but irrelevant at this point. There is nothing that public opinion can do right now. The only thing they could have possibly hoped for is that senators would freak out, get rid of the filibuster, and codify this immediately. It is hard for me to imagine that they would be that stupid, frankly, for a variety of reasons. A leak wouldn't help that necessarily. You could wait on it to become law and do it. There's so many things that would have been smarter. I don't see the advantage of it. And these people are smarter than me. Obviously, being smarter than me, they may have seen something that I didn't see. On the other hand, you have some moderate Republicans on that bench, at least when it comes to issues like this. Roberts and Kavanaugh come to mind right off the top. The way these drafts work is you send a draft out, and the people who agreed to vote with you go, this is too strong for me. If you want me to not just concur or vote with you, you're going to have to change a few things. I think this was sent out in an attempt to trap those people, number one. It's like, nope, we're going to leak it now, and this is what it's going to be. We want it this strong, and if we get it out into the public, it'll have to be this strong or we'll be seen as weak. Number two, it's so that states can get a lead on passing anti-abortion laws. There's no reason not to. You don't have to wait on the law. Do it now. If you are a crazy right-wing person in Texas and you have the political power to change abortion laws, do it right now. By the time the challenge comes up to the Supreme Court, this will have already been decided. So it just makes more sense to me. It's certainly possible that a liberal did it, but I don't know what their motivation. I genuinely don't know what their motivation would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I thought was would have happened as a result of it, but I don't know. Just think this is huge and the public needs to know type of thing. I know.
Well, I hope I'm double wrong.
Totally sink your career by doing it, for sure. But yeah,
I hope I'm double wrong. I hope that a liberal did it and that their bet was correct. That their bet.
When would this have been finalized by? Do we even know? Does it just depend on a lot of things?
It depends on a lot of things, but I would say, I read earlier that they were looking at July.
Okay, so before
it was written in February. It was written in February.
Yeah.
So one theory,
but before the midterms, either way, is what I'm saying.
Right. One theory that I read that was conspiracy minded, and this is a good one. It relates to what I just said. Is that this was written in February. It's been a few months. Now would be about the time that the dissenting and concurring opinions were going to come out. So one theory was that Justice Roberts, because he is brilliant, and he's pretty evil, but not as evil as Alito. Justice Roberts was about to put out his counter and seem more reasonable and seem more palatable and not be what the hardcore conservatives wanted. So someone, probably an Amy Barrett's progeny, one of her assistants, was like, well, fuck that, I'll leak it and trap his ass. I don't know. It just makes more sense for a Republican to leak it for about 3 reasons. It doesn't mean a Democrat didn't, though.
It's just, I don't know. I keep thinking about Desjardins and all that. Just
yeah.
I feel like almost nobody's really opposed to abortion, depending on the circumstances. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Any kind of Kellyanne Conway type or whatever. If their daughter comes home pregnant when she's supposed to be going to Stanford that fall or some shit like that, they ain't gonna let that stand.
No.
They're going
they don't need to. It's still
I know they'll still be able to afford. I mean, they can fly to fucking Switzerland or something and get an abortion if they need to. I mean, yeah, right. It disproportionately affects poor people, but that's how we roll in this country.
Something I want to be very clear on, and this is not a victory, but it is something that points out something that's not a complete loss. I'm pretty sure the way that I read this opinion, if it came out right now in the way that it was written, you can't outlaw abortion either at the federal level. This will literally split the country.
Yeah,
they're literally saying the feds can't make this anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll never be outlawed in California.
But a lot of them states are dude, fucking Greg Abbott already got fucking pregnant posses rounded up, fucking chasing women's down or whatever. a lot of them states, they'll make it illegal to go anywhere else too. So they'll send
Right.
dog the
Like
bounty
if you're
hunter
pregnant, you
after
can't leave.
Try to go to Vermont or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I
fucking
think
drag you
that
back, throw a lasso around you, pull you back to Texas.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah,
I
rooting and
really
tooting.
think that wouldn't stand even with this. Maybe I'm naive, even with this fucking setup of justices we have, because that would just affect so many things. You know, imagine then California starts saying you can't own a gun, and if you fucking go to Texas and shoot one, we'll arrest you for it. You know what I mean? Surely to God they don't want that, but also if they're insane, who knows what they want. And Democrats have been pussies about that kind of thing. We're not going to arrest people for shooting guns in Texas, nor should we.
Right.
But it's a dark day. I think gay rights are next, and I mean it
Yeah.
quick. I mean soon.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't mean on the so it's federally legal to get married as a gay person. That's not a state by state thing. Like it is on
It is federally protected as a right inside the Constitution. But this case, in my opinion, would make that not really true. And so immediately you're going to have a state who says, we are outlawing gay rights. And then you'll have a gay couple say, no, you can't do that. I'm federally protected. It will go up to the Supreme Court. And based on this case, the Supreme Court, I think, will borderline have to say, nope. The way we now view states' rights when it comes to issues like this, it's up to the state.
And so, like, if it's federal blah blah blah, it's by the state. Someone in Tennessee gets pregnant, they have to then go to Vermont to get an abortion, and that's obviously horrible. But when they get back, they still don't have the baby. But like. If gay marriage is not protected federally, and it's still going to be the situation where like California and Vermont are going to be like, yeah, but you can still do it here. But then when they get married there and come back to their state, they are not legally married in that state. That would be the implications.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And that was the reality
for years.
For a little while.
Yeah,
before.
Right, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that don't hit. Have y'all took breaks or no?
No.
I gotta take a shit.
We take a break.
Okay, we can take a break right now if you want to take a shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, me and you got to keep going.
We'll keep going. Yeah, because that's how our breaks work.
Yeah.
Anybody? Well, he took that ball and run with it. Which is fine.
Did.
Far be it for me. I missed the whole first half of the show. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like to me for a while there, like when Peter Thiel or whatever went up at the RNC, was like, I'm Republican, I'm gay, I'm American or whatever. And he got a cheer.
I'm new in town.
Yeah, right. He got a cheer after every one of those and everything. Like it felt like, because you got all these different gay conservatives now, and it's, all the time they'll have people in their Twitter replies calling them queers and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And, and then they're like, the radical left won't leave us alone. It's like, that ain't us doing that to you, buddy.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
But I really did start to think like that they had, I knew gay people still didn't hit for them, but that they had kind of just moved past that. Where like I never felt that way about abortion ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I knew abortion not gonna stay a thing with them always. Yeah. But because like with gays too, it sort of felt like they had also moved on to transgenders. They found out
right.
They're the ones now.
Yeah, right.
They don't
we lost that
us.
War, we lost that battle, but the war.
This one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And so, but I, I'm sure they'll still, if they have an opportunity to come for the gays, then they'll come for the gays.
Yeah, I mean, they'll circle back to it once they've got this one locked down, because they must have they can't go without a boogeyman, you know what I'm saying? And right now it's, abortion, and like, it'll definitely circle back to the gays. And it's just, we were talking about it earlier. It's such a one step forward, two step back thing. Cause like at certain points, like when gay marriage got legalized federally, I'm like, okay, well that's that. People are going to still be upset about it. And that's of course fine. Like you can't stop these people from screaming and be upset about things. But at the end of the day, it's a protected law. So what the fuck ever, you know what I'm saying? But like, I don't know, now that we're walking back all those things, like as a straight white man, I can't even comprehend all the other things that I'm not even thinking of that are about to go down. Because, like, you know, me and you obviously going to be fine no matter what. And there's so many people I know that, like, goddamn,
I mean,
man.
I don't know. That's part of what I put in the video that I just made, where it's like, if you think they're going to stop here, you're out of your mind. Like, this is just the first item on a very long list of things that they will, you know, get rid of in the name of freedom and small government if we allow them to. And you ain't got to be gay or Muslim or whatever to be included. Meaning, like, me and you, we don't, and like, we're much further down the list. But
For
I'm
sure.
saying, like, as they mark things off the list, like, we don't fuck with the Lord.
Right.
Lord don't hit for us.
Yeah, no,
You
he
know
don't
what I
hit.
mean? Like, you get far enough down that list. Also, we like to fucking smoke weed, do drugs, party, have a good time. That also don't hit for them. I'm saying, like, there's things I don't think anybody should feel, unless you are a like prototype fucking Marsha Blackburn slash, I don't know who the dude version of Marsha Blackburn is, fucking Josh Mandel or
Taylor
whatever.
Cawthorn or
yeah, but a lot of them are so fucking full of shit. That's the other thing too, is like they be fucking having coke orgies and stuff, so they're full of shit either way. But I'm just saying, unless you're like prototypical, I mean, I don't think that you will necessarily always be fine if they are allowed to just continue doing what they want to do. Like, it goes on for long enough, and like, we will be in a gulag, dog.
For the record, I didn't mean that
specifically. Like, fucking,
I didn't mean
can't
that.
wait to vote in the camp.
I didn't mean, for the record, I didn't mean it will never affect us, therefore I don't care about it. The ultimate point I was trying to make was, like, I see a lot of people that are saying just that, like, they're on Twitter and they're like, God damn, everybody's just arguing today. Twitter's such a fucking hot mess. I'm like, yeah, man, this is a pretty big thing. Like, I understand that you might get a little perturbed at the Will Smith Oscars discourse and how everybody's got an opinion on that, but this is a fucking, like, people ought to be mad as fuck, you know, about this type of thing. And like, and I see people like, you know, I don't understand. You're not a woman. It don't matter to you. It's like, right. But I get it. Nothing. That's why I said nothing's ever going to happen to me. So I got to say something about something. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if they truly get the goddamn theocracy that they so desperately crave, I mean, fuck, you know?
Right. Because, yeah, it won't just be abortions, you know, and or Plan B. Like, how long before it's like condoms or birth control or whatever? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like fucking.
Yeah, because that don't hit for them.
No, it don't. And like, you can't have that shit.
No.
Like, because then we're going to have all these goddamn trailer babies and otherwise just all over the place. Lousy with them. Lousy with these new babies that nobody wants, and they ain't gonna do nothing with them. They're just gonna let them poop in the street and fucking, you know, say they're going to hell or whatever. But they're not that, like, and it just,
yeah, we do not need more people.
No, from a purely practical standpoint, all the other shit aside, I'm not saying to put the other shit aside. I'm just saying, like, from any direction you approach it, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, this is not fucking good, and no one really should be in favor of it unless, and I know a million other people have said this too, if these people did care about like kids, like if they also really supported like fucking welfare programs and foster care and that type of stuff, if they were consistent with caring about the quality of life of these children, it would be a way more nuanced situation as far as I'm like, if they were like that, I'd be like, okay, I see where you're coming from, and I could tell you're trying to do right. So, but I still would support a woman's right to choose, but that would make it very different. But the fact that they don't do none of that is like, it just really adds to the bullshit factor of the whole thing, you know. Because that, like, nothing is more vitally important than ensuring that a baby is born, and then they're done. That's it. They walk away right there.
Poop on the street for all we care.
That baby and its poop in the street for the rest of its natural life. They don't give a shit, and that's what really fucking sucks about it. Along with everything, everything sucks. Nothing hits.
No, nothing does hit.
I mean, I think it'll eventually balance out. I hope it will, but also I think a lot of people on the Democrat or left side of America have grown a little naive about how power works. like the majority of people want some form of abortion rights. A lot of people disagree on the timing and stuff like that. As we all know, almost 80% of Americans want weed to be legalized.
Right.
Power doesn't work the way we were taught it does, in the sense that you live in the greatest country in the world and you're a democracy and blah, 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 and everyone has equal say and we vote. And it's like we have learned over time, I hope, that that's not quite how it is. I do have some hope in terms of future generations and the way they see the world. I don't think that like all is lost. I think most people want Americans to have some access to birth control and abortion, but wanting it doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to power. That's not how power works. And I guess that's why earlier, I know you weren't here, Trae, I was so focused on, I realize losing the right to abortion is the most important issue here. But what this means in terms of where we are now is also heavy on my mind, because a minority of people have hijacked certain issues in this country and forced it upon the rest of us. They have successfully done that. Mitch McConnell is better at his job than anyone that we have on the left. Like he's good at making his will and the will that whoever's backing him, whether it's companies or theocratic assholes, he's good at making that reality. And that's really depressing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, like the midterms were later this year. I had previously had like less than zero optimism about that, because liberals ain't, or the Democrats, they ain't done shit really. They've done a couple of things, but nobody's happy. I was like, the left's not going to be motivated at all. It's midterms always go that way anyway. For the most part, they're like a swing in the opposite direction. And I didn't feel like we had anybody who was going to motivate people to show up, and we're probably going to get our asses handed to us. And I felt that way for a while. I'm not saying that won't still happen, but I guess I am saying it's like if this type of thing still isn't enough to like be a proper level of motivation to send the message to people, it's like, it's never going to be over. Like the way everybody like turned out in response to Donald Trump and won that shit. It's like that, like,
but you have to deliver something to get them to come back.
I know.
To what end should people show up? For what purpose? We had every chance to codify Roe v. Wade under Obama, and I don't care what anybody says, we didn't do it so we could fundraise. We've had every chance right now to bully Sinema and Manchin or kick them the fuck out of the party, and we fail. We could have gotten rid of the filibuster, and we say we're afraid to do it because what if Republicans use it on us in the future? We have done nothing since Obamacare, which people don't really like. Like, you're right, but what I'm saying is the American opinion of the Democrats right now, it's like you said on Mar, do you want to be right or do you want to win? I don't know if this is enough, because it's like, hey, we got to vote so we can what? Are we going to actually codify Roe if we fucking vote? Because the things Joe Biden ran on, he hasn't even introduced. It's not just he hasn't done them. He hasn't introduced them. He's done fucking basically Twitter polls. That's why we're losing. Nobody trusts the Democratic Party.
Sure, and I know that this don't hit any more now than it did then, but it's like I still just don't see how, like, okay, but the alternative is The Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
Like, literally.
But that's here now, and we did win and own the House. And I'm not saying that means I'm not going to go vote in the midterms. I will. I'm saying
but they got their fucking judges in there before we won and won that. This is a fucking school. We were saying the whole time how important that was too. Mitch McConnell fucked everything up in that regard and was allowed to do it, and none of that hits either. But like
Barack Obama fucked that up, though. I mean, he should have bullied him. He was arrogant and thought Hillary was going to win. Like, and I'm not saying this to like just be a stick in the mud. We're not going to win that much in the midterms, and I'm telling you the reasons why. And I'm going to vote for Democrats in the midterms because of what you're saying. It beats the alternative. But we beat the alternative, and we have no lists of things we've accomplished to prove to you why. We just are going to show you what they did and we don't like. It's not a winning strategy.
Don't hit.
They're beating us right now. We're having this conversation under a Democratic president, Senate, and House.
Right.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm
If two
disillusioned.
people weren't the biggest assholes in the world, or if they had two more Democratic senators than they do, a whole lot of this would be insanely different. It's just the fucking way.
A lot of people don't believe that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I just
either.
don't know. I hear you. Fuck them. They suck. I'm not trying to act like they don't suck. They're fucking terrible. But if you don't think that the other side sucks way harder, I don't know what to say to you. Like if I'm not motivated by they don't motivate me to go vote, and so fuck them. They haven't earned it. Okay, but doing that leads directly to empowering the lunatics on the right further. And
this is what they want.
As two-party system.
But we've gone beyond people simply saying they don't motivate me. Whether fair or true or not, this has gone on now for a few cycles, long enough that people are normal people, not just like crazy leftists. Normal people, especially young people, they're not saying I'm not motivated simply because Democrats aren't like Republicans. What they're saying is, it appears to me that playing the "at least we're not Republicans" card is what they do while funneling money towards corporations, continuing their wars in the Middle East. In other words, people are going beyond, I don't feel motivated, and they're saying, I fucking hate the Democratic Party because they're liars. And you can get mad at those people. You can correctly point out that the Republicans are insane. But at the end of the day, your job in politics is to win votes. And the way you do that is to make people's lives better. And they're just failing. And if you don't point that out, or let me say it differently, if I don't point that out, I feel like I'm being a bad leftist. It's like, again, I'll vote for Democrats in the midterms. I will, unless there's a third alternative that hasn't cropped up yet that I like better. But simply saying the Republicans are crazy is not working. And it's not just working because people are unmotivated. A lot of regular Americans despise the Democratic Party.
Okay. Same, Corey.
I kind of don't want to, but
no, I guess you're right. That's fine. I think it's fair to not sing at the end of this one. All right.
Love
Thanks.
y'all.
Bye.